Hi everyone, I'm Caspi and welcome back to my studio. So let's talk fashion trends for just a second. So 2024 and 2025 even still, we're seeing this enormous spike in popularity for 3D handmade fabric flowers, whether you, again, make them for yourself or you buy them. And we see this trend becoming wildly popular across the board. So that would be bridal, evening wear, and ready to wear. So in the Caspi studio, perhaps one of my favorite projects for the 2025 season was a custom mother of the groom gown. So what made this gown unique, of course, is this fabulous, delicious teal color and Mikado fabric, which I absolutely love using. If you look at my page frequently, you'll see that it's a textile that I like to use across the board. What made this look especially unique is all of these beautiful handmade fabric flowers that we have descending from the knee line all the way down to the hem. So if you don't already, hop on over to my Instagram page, Caspi by Design. Go ahead and check out this series so that you can see how this look came together. But today we're going to be posting a little bit more of a detailed tutorial on how to make these fabric flowers. So let's take a look at the material that we're working with in addition to the tools that we're going to be using to sculpt our fabric into the shape and the overall look that we're going for. So first things first, we have our fabulous organza material. I actually got this from Mood Fabrics, so take a look at the description if you actually want the link for that. I like this because it's a little bit more of a matte finish, so to me it gives off a more expensive overall aesthetic. And then what we're going for, obviously, is this really nice, curly, organic, almost peony style of flower. So there's a million that you can make on your own if you want more of like a rose texture or a spiral, but this is what we're going for today, and we're going to achieve this by using our hot tools. So I got both of these from Amazon. They're actually a different brand, so I have my link for both of these in the description, but I actually like having two at the same time because you see we can use attachments that are a little bit bigger and some that are smaller also. And then you can set your temperature. I usually kind of leave it almost wide open. I find that that's a little bit faster. One pro tip that I actually troubleshooted, this bit here, if you install it with it extended outwards, it actually doesn't even get hot enough. And so that's actually why I ended up buying two. But you just got to make sure that it's loosened, push it in all the way until it stops in the channel, and then tighten her back up and you're ready to go. Let's get started for today. So our first step is going to be cutting out our petals, and then of course we're going to shape them, we're going to burn all the edges, and then we're going to stitch them together. So I had my intern, whenever we originally started with this, work on all these different pattern shapes. So some of them a little bit more heart shape, some of them are a little bit more squiggly along the outer edges. The reason for this is because this style of flower I had done in the past, and actually if you follow my channel for a little while, you'll see that I do have another video on this, but really coming out, making a plan, and creating different pattern shapes, and just seeing what works well together is the ticket to achieve what kind of flower that you want. And you just don't know until you start to cut them out, trial and error, and then see what works best. So, after making quite a few of these, my intern Gina, she and Sophia, we decided that we liked these shapes, and these the best. So that's what we're going to be cutting out today. Now, a pro tip for cutting out all these individual pieces, you'll immediately find that this takes forever. So, if you have your material, what I suggest doing is folding it on top of each other, quite a few layers at a time, and that's going to achieve cutting out like 30 at a time instead of one and one and one a million years later. Each of these flowers ended up having somewhere between 8 and 15 different petals, so if we ended up with over 100 flowers all together on the dress, you can imagine how long that takes. So let's get started on this very tedious process. Okay, so essentially this is step number 2. So we've got all of our piles of our pieces, keeping them nice and organized. What we need to do now to begin the shaping process is to melt all these outer edges. Now again, this is a material that is a fairly high polyester content, and so that means that it melts around the edges. If you're working with an organic material like silk, it's not necessarily going to melt, it will burn instead because it's not plastic essentially. So I'm gonna light my candle. I just chose one that I thought smells nice. This is my handy dandy chicken wing lighter because I think it's funny. Chicken wing lighter. So essentially all you do is you take your little pieces and you're just holding it a little bit over the flame so that it starts to curl. You don't want it to do it so much to where it makes this really burned, crusty edge. You're really just wanting it to kind of shrink back onto itself, similar to how you're seeing it doing so right now. If you don't feel comfortable using your fingers to hold it, you can also use a set of tweezers, really just whatever you're comfortable with. That nice little melted, curled edge, you see how it's already kind of collapsing up onto itself, very similar to how petals look. That's what we're looking for. And then we'll come in and shape it some more. So let's go ahead and melt all of these. All right, so we are on our last petal. The next step to this is going to be shaping them with our soldering tools or our hot tools that I showed you guys just a few minutes ago. Now, if you're happy with the shape of your petals at this stage, you do not have to use the hot tools, but I find that for a more realistic petal look, making some grooves with the hot tools really seals the deal. And then I like to keep my petals in these nice little stacks so it's organized and we are ready to start shaping them and then assembling them. Okay, so at this stage we're ready to sculpt our flowers. I have my hot tool already heated. I have one, of course, that has the smaller attachment and then one that has the larger because, you know, it's good to be able to kind of play around with different tools and see what shape we like the best. The kit comes with a little piece of styrofoam, okay? But you must use a bit of scrap fabric, muslin fabric, or you can see we've been using this for a little bit now because you need to kind of use it as a barrier. But the styrofoam, or it's not styrofoam rather, but it's this foam panel is important so that you can crease into it, and that is also going to help with making some lines on our bits here. Okay, so like I said, you do not have to do this step if you're already happy with this shape, but I found that this really helps sculpt each of the pieces. You're going to take your hot tool and you're kind of pressing and dragging at the same time, being careful not to touch any of the edges with this middle section here, otherwise you're going to create holes. And you're just going to want to play around with it. You can fold it, fold, press, crease, here we go. You see it kind of gives this little dragging effect, right? So we're starting to see some more creases. I liked how that looked, so let's do it again. Yes, I like that again. And I'm just gonna kind of keep doing that in different directions until I'm happy with it. Maybe one over here. All right, so you're starting to see we have these little indentions into the petal. I realize that this is very subtle and it feels like, you know, is this step worth it? I think you really just have to decide on that for yourself. In my opinion, it absolutely is. It looks like it doesn't happen very fast. That is true. But I'll tell you, adding these little creases, which really just looks like it's wrinkled. You can do this with an iron too. You just want to be careful not to melt it too, your iron. But this just really makes it look much more organic when you go to start pinching everything together. So we're going to do this to all of our other petals, and then we're going to assemble it. Okay, and just like that, we are already at the assembly stage. essentially what we're gonna do is I like to start from the out and then go in. You can always start with the center with the smaller pieces if that's what you prefer. Well, we're just gonna start stacking them until we're happy with how we're looking here. I've got my needle and thread all ready to go. So let's take some of our petals. And so really, for the outer shell, I just kind of start with overlapping them. Okay, that looks pretty good. Coming in with another. Yeah, so already you're starting to see we're having this very organic petal kind of look to everything. So I'm just gonna do a quick little stitch in the center. There we are. Just securing it. I'm just going through all the layers. You can technically use your sewing machine for this, but honestly, it's really quick just to do it by hand. Okay, so here we go. Let's keep going with some of our bigger pieces. We're gonna start to kind of like pinch them together. Just until you're happy with it. There is no guaranteed recipe for success, just kind of whatever placement we're feeling at the moment. So I'm just gonna come up through the 2 petals that I just added. I like to keep my thread fairly centered for obvious reasons. But if it's not obvious to you, it's so that it's very incognito. So I've got my thread on the underside. Now I'm gonna come in with some of my bigger pieces, or smaller pieces rather. So we got the big ones first, let's do our medium ones. So you don't have to use all the petals that you've cut out and shaped, but start to kind of make decisions on what you want your center to look like so that it doesn't just look like this immediate descent into smaller petals. Okay, so let's put together our smaller center and we're gonna end up joining these together. So I really liked these shapes. This is one of the patterns that my intern Gina put together because I find that whenever you just kind of collapse them in on itself, like look how easy that was. It looks like totally the center of a little flower. Easy daggum peasy. And I'm just gonna kind of keep doing that. Trying to keep towards the center. Oh yeah, all right. So then let's just do maybe one more, a little bit more relaxed. I'm gonna just go thread it right through the middle because I can. Why not? More relaxed, and then it's just gonna, oh, look at that, look at that. Just gonna secure that. All right. And so you see, it's not that these are wildly difficult, although, you know, you do have to take a little bit of time, maneuver the petals around, and just see what looks good. There is no exact recipe for success for this. Just find, you know, different ways of doing it and see what you like the best. All right, and so just like that, we're just gonna place it right into the middle. Oh, look how good that is. Yes, yes, yes. Now, if you want to get real fancy, you know, I've seen people do pollen strands, or you could put like embellishments in the center, and I've seen that those look really cool too. So I've gone through a couple times. All I'm gonna do is just like on the bottom, I'm gonna grab some of that material, and we're just tying a knot to secure it. And ta freaking dog. Look at that. Boom. How cute is she? All right, and before we wrap this up, you know, I want to emphasize the fact that we made over 100 of these. Some of them were a little bit more congested. right? Some of them a little bit more spread out. You know, we played around with different sizes and we made lots of these big ones, and then imagine some half this size. The biggest thing is, this is creativity at its finest. Have fun with it. We certainly did. All right, everyone, we are finished up for today. I have been so excited to make this tutorial for you because I've had a lot of very positive response on the flowers that are on my Instagram page. Once again, if you don't follow my design page, definitely check it out. It's Caspi by Design, and I post a lot of the content of the creation of dresses like this coming together, as opposed to more detailed tutorials. But for those of you who were really curious on how we made these, this is how. Try it out for yourself, see what you think, and let me know how it goes. Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and if you have questions or things that you would like to see next time, also drop those in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.